should I inherit a tenant or not as a beginner property investor?
What we've went through as property investors have been something really tough for us, especially if you're looking at it from a perspective that this is my first property that I'm actually purchasing. Now I'm inheriting tenants, and now I'm just in limbo that was this a good decision or was it a bad decision? So what we are going to do for you as new property investors, or sometimes you might be an old property investor and thinking about it that should I actually be inheriting these tenants? Today we are going to be giving you both the pros and cons that will actually show you that should you inherit that tenant or should you not inherit that tenant.
So when we're speaking about inheriting tenants, usually it's in a situation whereby you bought the property, and now with you buying that property, what then you find is that there's tenants already living within the property. So there's an existing tenant within the property, and sometimes either an existing lease or not. So those will be the factors that we will be discussing, that the pros and cons.
Yeah.
So pro number one, this is one that also looking at it from a developer side is that the cash flow.
Yeah.
So now you are looking at, and this is something key, especially when we're sitting down with developers, right? So someone would be like, gents, can you please help me analyze this deal? It's got, whether it's got 600 units or it's got 40 units, but I really want to understand that should I be going to this deal or not? What I do like about it is that we are able to then look at it from a business perspective, that does it make sense? So when it comes to the cash flow, looking at it from the development side, it's a must that you'd want warm bodies. And when there are those warm bodies, you get to then
see warm bodies.
Warm bodies that are paying, bro, that are paying rent.
No, see tenants, my brother. Hey, warm bodies.
Tenants. So tenants that are paying rent, we then are not only looking at it that it's 600 units. What we further then ask for, you are allowed to ask for the financials.
Yeah.
Because remember now, that's more into your commercial space, and we are buying the business as a whole. So what I like about that is that you get to see the magnitude or the strength of the business through the financials.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we are always buying properties that are already built and have tenants inside, right? The main thing that I want to know is that once I've acquired this property, when my first debit order goes off, would I have actually collected rent? For me, in my mind, psychologically, right? Because remember, property investing is also a psychological game. Psychologically, it brings ease to me to understand that if I buy this property from the first month, they will be paying rent to me. So now, in that way, I know that I'm going to be cash flowing from day one. From the time the property gets registered into my name, I'm getting paid on a monthly basis. So now, looking at that one, at that dynamic, if everything was right and the tenant is the right tenant, I know that by the time the property gets registered, I just need to go show myself and say that I'm the new landlord and give them the account number. And then when it's month end, I know that I'm actually going to be getting my money.
I spoke about when you're looking at it from a commercial space that I can ask for the financials, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm also buying the business. And that is something that's informing me to either buy 40 units or this 30 units, right?
Yeah.
Because now I can see those financials and I then see how much am I buying it at, and then I'm able to make that informed decision, right? But now I don't want us to only look at it through a commercial space, because I also want to put perspective to a beginner investor who's saying that, okay, if they're using financials to take that informed decision, what can I use using specifically this point of cash flow?
So looking at this one, yeah, cash flow from day one, right?
Yeah.
When you're looking at it from a person that's actually collecting rent from one person,
Yeah.
it becomes a little bit tricky because now there is no financials. So I'll give you an example. If you're renting out a property from one person, right? Chances of the investor or the person that owns the property for them to have financials, chances are really slim.
Sure.
So now you asking for financials might be a bit tough, because now they can actually tell you that I don't have financials to the property.
Yeah.
Because I'm only having one tenant in the property and it doesn't make sense for me to have financials. So this means that you'd have to do due diligence on the other sides other than this one factor,
Yeah.
right? But now, yeah, we'll actually talk about the other things, that due diligence that you can actually look into if you're looking at one person, because I'm afraid that it's going to spill over to the next one.
Yeah, but you know what I'm thinking, right, Lewis, that because you guys spoke about on the commercial space, I can ask for financials. So if the landlord is collecting rental and the rental is going to their personal account, I'm already thinking someone there will be like, hey, let me see your finances. What's happening?
Yeah. Send me your bank statement. Send me your bank statement. I want to see that this person has actually been paying on a monthly basis.
That's not going to fly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to point. So we're saying that with point number one, then the pro of the buying a property whereby you inherited, you're able to then see the cash flow and the strength of the business of the property then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now the second point, right, in terms of the pro is that we get to skip the lease agreement process, right? So now this is a double-edged sword, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is a double-edged sword is that a lease agreement has to be, personally, a lease agreement has to be something that is binding for both the tenant and the landlord, right? Now, I know a lot of people will say that, no, the law is more on the tenant side than on the property investor or on the owner's side, the landlord side, right? But now, if you know the law and you understand what has to be on the lease agreement, then it makes it easier for you to understand that should I actually be taking on this person or not.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. If someone comes through and I'm inheriting a property and then that person only has a one-page lease agreement, I'm used to lease agreements that are 15 pages, right? Which ultimately means that there are more things that are not on that lease agreement. Now, the question is that with the things that are on the lease agreement that is 15 pages, how do I then include them on that one page? Because on that one page, it's going to be very vague. Basically, it's going to give you the details of the landlord. Imagine it's details of the landlord, details of the tenant. Already, it has taken half of the page. So now on the other half, it's going to tell you that when should they pay, and then noise control and all of those things. But now remember, there are a lot of stuff that has to be in the lease agreement, like lease renewal. When is the lease being renewed? Is there a percentage increase when the lease expires, right? So such things are sometimes not included in the lease agreement, which puts you on the back foot, because now if you inherit that person without the proper lease agreement, you're on a back foot. But now there are some properties whereby the person that was owning that property was running it well, and now they have proper lease agreements. So if they have proper lease agreements, then at least we know that we can actually skip that process in terms of getting that lease agreement and then getting everybody to sign the lease agreement. Because most of the time what I've noticed is that if you are inheriting tenants, a lot of tenants are reluctant to sign the lease agreement. So you really have to push them in order for you to get that lease agreement signed.
And then going on to point number 3, right, is that you get free insight on the property. So what do we mean when we're talking about free insights on the property? We've actually noticed this recently. There was a viewing that we went through with one of our clients, and the tenant was there. So apologies to the estate agents for this. You know, when you find a tenant and you are viewing, guys, trust me, you're going to get more information than the landlord or even the estate agent themselves. Because here's the thing, right? The tenants are usually, they want to tell you the truth, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why. They just feel obligated. They feel obligated to tell you everything. And I guess maybe it's because of our approach, because sometimes they can just keep quiet and be like,
yeah, they think they know too much, this one.
Yeah, man. So as an investor, let's just say that you haven't bought the property as yet. You're viewing the property, and you find that the client is saying that they're not able to come through. The estate agent, trust me, if you are super kind to the tenant, you're going to get everything, because they will complain. Like, they'll tell you about every single thing about the property. I remember that the way the lady was complaining, I was like, sure, you're really a good agent. Like, I know why I shouldn't buy this. Like, you really convinced us.
Yeah.
So when it comes to viewing, I prefer having a chat with tenants, and also not only tenants, but even neighbors. I'll tell you why I'm also saying neighbors, right? You're speaking to people that necessarily don't have any financial benefits from the transaction. Now, when you're talking to the owner, they are having a direct financial benefit to selling that property. Estate agent number 2, they're also having a direct benefit to selling that property. So sometimes it does happen that some information will be omitted. Whereas when you're looking at your neighbors and you're asking them about questions, for instance, like electricity or water cuts, there's some areas whereby the water is an issue. In other areas, electricity is an issue. And when we're saying electricity is an issue, we're not talking about your load reduction. We're talking about that area. People know that when it's winter time.
Yeah, 4 days, the electricity is out.
A week.
Ish.
Now imagine if you just stepped into such a property and you didn't have that insight. And the thing about property, guys, remember, it's not like a shirt whereby key 3/4 and then you're not happy, and then you'll be like, I'm not happy about this. I already bought it. Okay, I'll just sell it next month. There's costs that one has incurred. So as a beginner, when it comes to due diligence, guys, this is something that you don't want to get wrong. Especially you would like to interview people that don't have direct financial benefits from the transaction.
No, you know, as you're saying this, right, I'm realizing that there's actually more costs on you as the owner than the tenant.
Yeah, guys. But the thing is, with such mistakes, guys, trust me, it's you don't want to find someone in such a situation whereby I bought a property in this area. Electricity via winter. Now you are waiting for someone to sell. Now, the next buyer. You know how terrible. I don't even know. Are you terrible if you're that person, bro, that bought a property in the area whereby I own electricity June, and then now you want to sell it to the next person because they don't know.
No, it happened to you, so you need to pass it over. It's hot potato, pass it on.
Yeah, she's a potato later, bro.
Okay, 600. I mean, no, I was talking about the issue here, the electricity.
Yeah.
Right? And now, the problem is that as a tenant, it's easier for you to say that I'm leaving the property than it is for the owner.
Sure.
Which is why we're always saying, guys, due diligence is one of the most important parts of property investing, because if you do not do due diligence, guys, with the people that don't understand what due diligence is, it's basically doing a background check in terms of what's going on the property and with the tenants, right? If you do not get the right information about that property, it's more expensive for you as the owner than it is for a tenant. Let me give you an example. Say, for instance, if you are an owner right now and you are saying that you're going to be renting out a property, right? And it's all cool. You get a tenant, and then the tenant rents out that property. The tenant pays you rent, right? First month, things go well. Kanti, it's July now. Now that it's July, electricity is out for a week. It comes back for 2 days. It's out for another week again. It's easy for the tenant to be like, hey, bro, I understand that it's not your fault, but now the area, it's really bad, so I have to move. When that tenant moves, and now someone has to come into that property. I remember, if you are familiar with Johannesburg South, Soweto, around Pinville, right? The one that's facing Maponya Mall, the section whereby it's facing Maponya Mall. There was a time whereby there was no electricity for months. So now, if you are the owner of the property and you are seeing that property, there is no, electricity for the past 3 months. And with the electricity not being around for the past 3 months, you are thinking that the bond is not saying that, guys, there's no electricity, so let's not make them pay. The bank won't be thinking like that. So now, if you go into such an area, I mean, guys, if you sign the contract before that 3 months, then it was hard luck for you, right? But now, if it was in that 3 months and you didn't do the proper due diligence, you were in the car saying that, I have affordability, I'll just buy, right? And you didn't have a chat with the people that are around that area, you're going to have a huge problem, because now you are buying this property with the intention to rent out. Now that you have rented it out, and you're seeing that you haven't had electricity for the past 2 months, what's your game plan now? I mean, there was someone that was actually forced to use their house as a storage. So people would pay him the money on a monthly basis for storage. But remember, storage, you can't charge the same amount for storage like someone that would be renting out a house. So that's the thing that you have to really think about, that if I'm going to say that I'm going to be buying a property. Number one, when I get to the area, I need to be speaking out with the local people that, how's the area? How's the crime? How's the electricity? Is everything okay? Then once you've gotten that information, then you go to the property itself. You talk to the tenant. Guys, the tenants are the people that are living in that property. They know is it actually livable or not. Now, if you don't have that conversation with the tenant, then it's a problem. But now I also do understand that sometimes with estate agents, they won't allow you that opportunity to talk to the tenant. So then, if you are not allowed that opportunity, then you know that you need to actually bring your people to come through and check out the property that is there. Can we do an inspection on the whole property to see that what's wrong and what's right on the property?
But one thing for sure, man, just guys, as I did mention, you see, once you get a tenant there and the estate agent is not there, just be happy because you're going to get what's really happening about that property. And number two, Lebo, I'm happy that we are having this chat in terms of what is viewing. A lot of us believe that viewing is taking my family. And remember something, right? You don't want to be emotional when you're buying a property. But now, as soon as I've got my family and it's good to go with your family, right? But I would say that do multiple viewings. Go there alone in a sense whereby I'm going there with a red eye.
Yeah.
And I want to
What's
see,
a red eye?
Like you know that eye that you have critical, you just see red. Like you're criticizing almost everything. But however, now you're not criticizing in a sense whereby it's unrealistic. You're trying to look for real reasons in terms of, should I still buy this property or not? It's so unfortunate that people go there and they'd be like, this is not such a big deal, right? Only to find out later on when that catches up with them. I'm going to give you guys two examples, right? There's a client of ours. They've got like 8 units at the back. When you're looking at it from there's 8 tenants and I'm getting money, it's good, right? But now there's a huge plumbing flop. That building is on top of the sewer, Maspal. So what then happens is that thing blocks there and there. And if you looked at this, not necessarily understanding property investing, you looked at it from a perspective of, I've got 8 tenants in there, you could have just bought it because there was something for you to buy. But now as soon as you then realize that that whole block is on the sewer line, you find out that the person who was selling it, that's the reason why they were selling it. And here's the thing again, you might even find out that you bought it cash. So here's why I really find it difficult dealing with cash buyers, because especially if they're emotional. I like the cash buyers that are objective in a sense whereby they understand when we talk to them in terms of, you don't need to buy this property. And then they'll listen to the reasons why we're saying that, and then they'll take an informed decision. I'll tell you why, guys, is that some people are rather looking at, I've got 2 million in my account, and I'm seeing a house that's got 8 units, even though it's on the sewer. At that point in time, they don't know that it's on the sewer line. So now, as soon as they call you, Lebo, can you please come through? Let's go view the property, and I'd like your insights, bro. And then Lebo comes through, is like, Mfethu, that thing is on the sewer line. And we've been in a situation whereby the property, the sewer pipe, remember, it was in the kitchen. Guys, like, do you understand what this really means? Because if anything is wrong, that means everything is in the kitchen. So now, unfortunately, your normal person who's not really invested into property, for them at first glance, it's not an issue. Until those tissues come up. And then the second one was there. It was the sewer line, right? The second one was, I remember this one was with the wooden floor, right? Guys, you need to understand something is that if there was an issue, the wooden floor in terms of the geyser was inside the house, right? And then let's just say that that person was like, the geyser, we had an issue with the geyser, but then we fixed it. So they say they fixed it. But when you're looking at the wood, you can see that there was damage. Guys, it's expensive to restore wood. One of our clients called us, and for his room alone, it's a pity that my phone is dead, right? But if Lampisa, we can go to the DMs, I'll screenshot Gilbon, etc. For that room alone, he was charged 18,000 to fix that room. And for me, man, I felt really that this thing is harsh, bro. But again, when you're looking at the situation at large, is that when you are buying, do you really understand what you're buying? Unfortunately, a lot of first-time beginners, they do not understand what they're buying. You only learn later when that thing is under your name.